Hello, I'm Christina, and I'm here with Martina, and we are your podcast hosts for everyday, ordinary, extraordinary women. We are deep divers and avid students of life and powerful facilitators for healing. In real life, I'm an intuitive healer who blends massage therapy with energy work to provide customized holistic services for my clients.
And I'm a life coach specializing in parent and women empowerment, and I'm also a sound healer. And we both love to incorporate crystals, essential oils, angelic Reiki, oracle decks, and of course, intuitive guidance into our work.
We were inspired to create this podcast after pondering on this question: what would a world look like where we can be inspired by every person? Usually, we're very quick to compare and judge ourselves and others. And when we do that, everybody's losing. Depending on my point of view, I can either feel small because I come out lacking, or arrogant and dismissive because I feel superior. Those are the only two options, and neither of those options make us feel very good. So here's our thought: someone's everyday normal is someone else's extraordinary. Judgment comes from our first impressions. So we invite you, the listener, to go beyond your first impressions and see the magic everywhere. There's inspiration at every corner, in everyone, if we're willing to look. And today we're so happy to welcome Nancy to the podcast. Nancy, go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay, hi, I'm Nancy, and I own Luxe CrystalWorks. I live here in Alpharetta, and I met the beautiful inside and outside Danielle at the Alpharetta Farmers Market a couple of years ago, and it was just one of those meetings where you feel like you've known her from beyond time and space, and it's just comfortable, right? And it's like, gosh, you wish that all of your friendships were like that, but they're not, and that's okay. And that's what makes, these sacred women in my life really, really special. So I've been with my husband since 1989, married since 94. So y'all do the math. Oh, I know that we celebrated 30 years in December, which was nice, but math. I'm a mom of three. I have a son, Morgan, who is going to be 28 this year. He's an over-the-road truck driver. So, he's got a you know, little soul that just takes him all over the country and into Canada sometimes. And, old soul in a young body. And I just love him to death. And then I have identical twin girls who are going to be 27 in August. So I missed having Irish triplets by 4 days. So when I was in the hospital, the nurses were like, "Weren't you here last year?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You're here again?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they go, "You're having twins?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Right? And I'm like, I called it an alcohol related incident. So my husband and I avoid each other in November at all costs. So, there you go. So yeah. And my daughter Heather is just, another beautiful soul and just very, very sweet, very kind, terrific dry sense of humor. Thankfully, she has her daddy's affinity for numbers and everything like that, and then she gets her soft, squishy insides from me, which doesn't show up very often, but I know deep down it's there. And then her identical twin Jessie is. The girls are here with us, and Morgan, he sleeps in his truck, and that's his thing, his job. And then Jessie has autism, so she's going to be with us probably for as long as she wants. She's a happy-go-lucky girl, and I always say that I'm happy for what I have because it could always be worse, right? Like I said, she's a happy girl, and she's just happy like all the time. So it's like the choice that she didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. And I always say that her her teachers who have been in her life, they had the choice and they made the choice to go into special ed and, to heed that calling. And And I like to say we kind of weren't given that choice, but we were given the child, right? So how you or how I accept that is really individual, you know.
Yeah.
So she's a great traveler. We took her to Australia for 3 weeks, for a holiday, and she did great. And, we met the Irwins, and that was really fun. And Robert is hella cute. And, holy mackerel. Jesse was like blushing up a storm. And I was like, oh, okay. So again, she chooses happy, and then that in turn makes me happy. She's living the life that she wants, and it doesn't matter that she doesn't have any friends or anything like that. She loves to travel, and we're happy with that. And so it's been an adjustment, but one I've made my peace with and known that this was a soul contract. And you know, it's interesting, I guess. So yeah. And I think that's it, right? That's me in a nutshell. Oh, and I'm gonna be 55 this year. Because I was born in 70, so thank God.
Oh, that's an easy math, yes.
Easy math.
And for all of you out there, we were talking about how, for me at least, how challenging it is to keep up with which year it is now. I can tell you which year it happened, but like doing the math, I hand that gladly over to somebody else to do.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy to be. I always like to call myself the happy passenger along with Jess. Like, I'm blessed in that way. And my husband's very, very good about, doing things that are his strong suit and then leaving me to the things that are my strong suit. So it's a nice partnership.
Beautiful.
So,
Beautiful. And I just wanted to, again, to our listeners, I wanted to say Danielle is actually like a friend of ours. She was the first person that came on our podcast, if you want to go back and listen. And we are going on a trip to Egypt
yeah.
in the fall together. So that's how we met you, Nancy. And it's
Oh
just
my gosh.
really exciting.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to be here with you and get to know you better. And
Thank you.
see, like I'm talking to you about crystals, and it's like,
Yes.
this is really exciting, like about jewelry and your jewelry making. So, and I imagine we will hear more about that in just a moment. So yes. So Nancy, if we really knew you, what would we know? If we really knew you.
Oh my gosh. So, I've been pondering on all the questions that y'all have sent me, and I would probably say the first thing that honestly pops into my mind is my bark is much worse than my bite, right?
Mm.
And I think that's true for a lot of women, and a lot of women our age, because of the era that we grew up in. I am definitely not a Southern girl by any means. I grew up in New Jersey and ended up moving down here in 2017. So, I do miss the ocean. I feel like it's very, very dry here, very landlocked. I'm not a lake girl, I'm barely an ocean girl, but, at least knowing that I could drive like 3 miles and just look at the Atlantic Ocean anytime I wanted to, I never thought, and I never thought that I would leave that, right? But I always say that the greatest moving here was the greatest gift I didn't know I needed, if that makes sense, right? Right? Because being a Taurus girl, don't take me out of where I am, but I can change my hair, I can kind of like change up my look a little bit, and that doesn't bother me. But take me out of where I've been, and you are going to see a whole different woman digging the heels, like, and me being naive, I was like, yeah, sure, let's go down to Georgia. I was very lucky that my brother-in-law and his wife and family were here, so I had someone that I could kind of latch on to, and she could show me the ropes a little bit. But I always say it was the greatest move I didn't know I needed because it got me out of stagnation, right?
Mm.
Again, what a Taurus like? We love beauty. We love, anything sparkly, and we love just staying still and being still and not moving. So, yeah, and going back to the question, bark is worse than the bite. It's protection, right? You know, I'm going to show you, but I'm not going to show you. You're going to hear me, but you're not going to see, you're not going to, nobody's getting through the gates. So I would like to say that if people can kind of, stay with me to the point of where they're able to get through, the frosty exterior, the Ice Queen persona, there's actually somebody pretty cool there that, is not shared with many people. So, yeah.
That's beautiful.
I know, right? This is good.
It's really beautiful because for me it's like if you would meet me, then the first thing you will see is arrogance, but it's like what I hide behind, right? It's like
Sure,
like
100%.
okay,
Yeah.
like
It's the
I
it's
don't
the
know who you
mask that you
think you
show
are, right?
people. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's a work in progress. And I also think it's beautiful that you say that, like those things that you needed but didn't know that you needed, right?
Oh
We've
yeah.
all had them over and over in our lives, right? It's
Oh yeah,
over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
good stuff. All right, Nancy, I'm gonna throw the icebreaker at you. Tell us a funny, silly, or embarrassing story about yourself.
Okay, so I actually had to ask my husband. So he's actually in Vegas right now. He took himself out there for his 60th birthday. So happy early birthday, honey. And he goes, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, honestly, no. And then I kind of felt bad about that. And then I'm like, well, you're doing kind of like what you want by just, again, sitting and staying, right? Right. And I think I'm honestly a little burnt out from Australia. That was a lot of travel. That took me like almost a full 5 days to even come back to some resemblance of, you know, I'm back in the right time zone in my life again. Um, so I think that was growth on both of our parts. I'm like, go and have a great time. He's going to go and see the Eagles at the Sphere,
Very
right?
cool.
And he's staying at a great hotel and he's flying first class and all that fun stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Good for you. Because I don't want to say like, he's letting me go to Egypt, but you know,
Setting
again,
Egypt.
growing up, we really didn't have, dreams, right? It was just, this is what you're going to do and you're going to do it. And there you go. So I never really had the opportunity to, dream big or really anything like that. Um, I know there's a point to this story, and I will get back to that funny and embarrassing story. Oh, yeah, that's right. So I had to ask him, I'm like, Joey, I'm like, what's a funny or embarrassing thing about me? And he looks at me and he goes, you do way too much Pilates to be as inflexible as you are. He goes, you literally can't touch your toes. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And I know
That's
that's not terribly embarrassing or anything like that, but I
silly
really
and funny.
feel, I really feel like I can't remember things anymore. And again, I don't know if that's a block of some sort, protection of some sort. Um, but I mean, I don't know, maybe having 3 kids in 2 years, is that kind of embarrassing? I don't know. But yeah, I think the inflexibility on my part.
I like that answer. I like that answer a lot.
Yeah, and my girls at Pilates will absolutely laugh at that and they go, "Yep, yep, that's totally Nancy. Like can't touch her toes, but open up her mouth and growl at us for no particular reason because she doesn't like the exercise."
I also love it too because it doesn't mean that like practice needs to look a certain way, right? Like
God, no.
Pilates and you're still inflexible. Like
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you do Pilates every day equals you will have a flexible body, but you're way more flexible than you'd be if you didn't do your Pilates.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. But I'm scared to do yoga. I'm like, everyone's like, "Ooh, come and do yoga." I'm like, "Hell no." I'm like, that sounds horrible.
Well, it
Maybe
depends. I
there's
was
so many different types of yoga, so maybe like a yin yoga or something like Swarupa, like Martina teaches.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you can show me some poses when we're in Egypt.
I definitely can do that. It's, it's a lots of props, very
Okay.
slow. It's
Okay.
very restorative, very powerful stuff. So
Perfect. Well, sign me up.
Yeah.
Begrudgingly.
If nothing else, get a yoga bolster at home and play with that to start with.
A
But we can
yoga
talk about this
bolster?
off the pod. I'll talk about this with you off the podcast. We'll
Okay.
get started with some basics for sure.
Christina can get all geeky on stuff like that. She
Perfect.
never travels without the balls,
Oh,
without
wow.
yeah. So all of it. So really cool. So
Mhm.
Nancy, what made you who you are today? For example, what was your biggest lesson, or what took most courage, or when did you stand up for something that mattered to you?
What were the questions again?
What was your biggest lesson? What took
What was
most
my
courage,
biggest
or when
lesson?
did you stand up for something that mattered to you? Like what made
Honestly,
you who you are today?
So again, I was kind of thinking about this, and a lot of this conversation is going to revolve around my children, right? So, I had great dreams of, everybody flying the nest and, doing their own thing. And, I do see that, it's happening and, Morgan's doing his thing and Heather's, slowly, tiptoeing out there and, exploring life a little bit more. But I guess the courage part is just Jesse, like, it's not typical. But I don't think I would trade it for anything because this is my lesson. My lesson is to, maybe slow down and, appreciate life a little bit more and look at it through her eyes. I mean, when we were in Brisbane, so we absolutely love Bluey and, it's constantly on in the background and, so she's, just a almost 27 years old, trapped in with the mentality of probably like an 8 or 9 year old. But she's funny as all get out. She'll prefer texting over anything else. But we watch Bluey a lot. And, I love Bluey and it's so much fun. So in Brisbane, they had an exposition with Bluey's house. So they rented out this warehouse and, and they made it just like Bluey's house. So you got the opportunity to like walk into the different rooms and they had really great actors doing the different, characters and everything. And I was just like, holy crap. I'm like, this is really amazing. And then I would look at Jesse and, I'm like literally like an hour's worth of trying not to cry. And then like, talking to one of the actors and I'm like, you literally have no idea how much this, means to me as a mother, to see your daughter just happy. Dang it. That didn't take long.
Oh, perfect. As I said, I cried the whole way through when we recorded my daughters. It's just really so, because it's so close to our hearts, right?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
courage it takes to
Mhm.
let go of what you think it should have been
Yeah.
and step into what is, right? Because we all have these fantasies of what life should look like, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then life happens, right?
Yeah.
Which
I'm
is,
grateful for it though,
yeah.
and they love it when they're always asking when Daddy and I are going to go away again so they can have sister weekend. Because then Heather will pile her in the car and they'll go to like Target and Bath and Body Works and they'll go to Chick-fil-A for lunch and then that's their outing for the weekend. Because they both love to stay home. Talk about people who love to stay home. Boy,
Yeah.
they love to stay home. So but it's good though, and I guess I'm just a little sad that, I wish the twin bond was there a little bit more for Heather, you know. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. I really kind of don't talk to her much about it, but, I don't think that she takes her sister for granted or, feels different that, maybe we spend a little bit more time on Jessie because that's what she needs. And, Heather's, very self-sufficient, but, I always try and make sure to check in with her and be like, you good? So, and I
It,
hope
it
she
is
is.
like I find that, right? It's like you have those children that need more attention,
Mhm.
right? Nicholas has muscular dystrophy and like he and one of the girls definitely needed more attention than the other two, and being careful not to lose the others in the process,
Yes.
right? To, you know, like to carve out those times that
Mhm.
you get to spend together so they don't feel left out. And
Mhm.
it's, you know, it's actually, you know, it's like being a CEO, right? You're really the CEO.
Yes, that's so true.
You're the manager.
Yep. Yep. Oh, I'm the boss. I think I heard that. Mr. Filos, Martina said that I'm the boss.
Yes, you are. You are, but it's like
Just not,
you're
yeah.
managing, right? It's interesting because if you then look at the work situation, right, from women that have not worked in forever and then want to go back into the
Mhm.
workforce, and nobody gets all that goes into it, right? It's kind of a little disregarded, right? It's like you're really managing
Oh, yeah.
like a household and books and like everything, right?
Yeah.
So
That's a thing down here in Georgia, house managers, like, and I'm like, that would be really interesting, but
yeah,
very tiring.
yeah,
I'm a girl who likes to go for a nap, like a weekend. They're like, what are your plans? I'm like, no, Pilates and probably napping. I told Joey I'm going to go full clothes
yeah.
and then disappear for like 2.5 hours and come down. And I'm like, and he looks at me and he's like, how was your nap? And I'm like, who told you? And he goes, nobody. He goes, I can just see it. I'm like, yeah.
Well,
Was it those
yeah.
wrinkles on my face?
Exactly. Big old drool.
Well, it's you taking care of you. Nothing better than that.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Hmm.
yeah, completely. So while we're talking about napping, it sounds
Amen.
part of your self-care. What else fills you up and recharges your batteries? What do you do to really take care of yourself?
Well, Pilates, but usually I get mad when I'm there because like my body won't do what I want it to do. But then I have to remind myself that, it's a journey and, my body in 2025 is different than my body in 2017 and it doesn't want to do the stuff that it did in 2017. So, um, I think the beauty is in just being okay with where you are, using what you have, where you are, and just doing the best that you can with it. And, embracing your limitations, but, pushing the boundaries just a little bit more. I love to go crystal shopping. I like to wander the aisles of home goods. And let's see what else. Um, hmm. Cocktail every now and then. Let's see. I like to travel. Oh, I got bit by that bug. And I like to be near water. What else do I do for self-care? I like facials and massages. So my job at the spa, affords me that as well. So I get a beautiful little discount and, that's why I keep my job. So, I can keep my services and help pay for the crystals and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I guess that's it for self-care. Like, I'm a Taurus. That's all we do. Hmm.
So, Nancy, what do you consider your superpower? What is your superpower?
This is a hard one. Um, Even though, you sent me these questions, probably 2 weeks ago, that's hard because that requires, self-reflection, right? Introspection, you know.
Well, it
Lord
also
knows.
requires to give up the false humility and claim what is yours.
So what's my superpower? What's my superpower?
Christina, you know one?
I don't know. What do you guys feel? Authentic? Authentic? What's my superpower? Smothering? Oh, smothering. Smothering. Is that not a superpower? But you know what? That's me giving my energy away for other people, right?
I
So
say smothering, maybe caretaker.
I don't like that word. No, that's
Loving on people?
Loving on people. Yeah. Yeah. No, smothering's good. I think,
To empower them?
I mean, I guess. I don't know. That's a hard one. I don't know.
Well,
Pass.
you can keep it if you want to. There's
No,
really,
you could be a fierce mother bear.
yeah.
No,
Smother.
no.
You're
That's
smother with love. Smother with love.
I do. I'm like that heart care bear. Jazz hands.
We can't.
Creativity, I would say.
Oh, creativity. Oh yeah, thank you, Martina. That's good. Yeah, totally.
And there is even though you talk about introspection like something not so exciting, you still did a lot of that. So introspect, or what would be the other word? Hold on.
I would
Aware.
say intuition. Because you're working with crystals, and crystals have a lot of power to them, and you have to be intuitive to really work with them. And so I think if you're working with crystals, not necessarily creative, but you're probably intuitive too.
Oh yeah. Oh, that without a doubt. Yeah, but I don't know if I would necessarily call that a superpower.
I would,
So,
for sure.
but I think it's like one of those things that you kind of like, keep in your pocket, and you just kind of like keep honing it and honing it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay. So yeah,
Mhm.
but still up for discussion.
Okay.
Well, it's funny because not everybody has it, right? And you're like dismissing it as it's normal, and it's not, right?
Welcome to my world.
It's all good. It's all good.
That's why this is ordinary, extraordinary, right? Like we all think all of our stuff is just ordinary, but it's really pretty extraordinary most of the time. We
Yeah.
just don't think it is.
Okay, what's next?
All right. So let's see. Tell us about a time you took a chance for love. It doesn't have to be romantic love, but it can be.
Yeah, no. Um, Christina's laughing. Um, again, honestly, horrifically boring, but Jesse,
Why is that boring?
because it's not probably the answer, not necessarily that anybody wants to hear. I can tell you about the boy who broke my heart in high school and never got over it, you know, and then kind of like disappeared after that, and, shrunk back into, my safe little underground space. And, you know, but I think choosing to love, my children individually for who they are, and for Jessie with where she is, you know, and her, what her life is looking like. So yeah, I think I think that's I think that's love,
And
so
that's
maybe that's my
such a
superpower.
love them for who they are,
Yeah.
absolutely. And what a gift.
Hmm.
What a gift, not just to your children, but whoever gets in touch with them, because they get that.
Yeah.
They get to experience that, because your children now get to be who they're meant to be, rather than
Right.
who you think they're meant to be, or
Mhm.
who you
Mhm.
wish they would be, or they get to be
Yeah.
free, right? They
Yes.
get to be really free to be themselves,
Mhm. Mhm.
whatever they choose, in
Yeah.
whichever way, right? Yeah, it's a huge deal.
It
Nothing
is.
boring, nothing boring about it, And as a parent empowerment coach, I will tell you that our children walk around with our hearts,
Oh yeah.
So they walk around with our hearts out
Hmm.
there in the world, and sometimes they kick it, sometimes they trample on it, sometimes, and it takes something to just keep taking a step back and
Yeah.
loving them anyway, right?
Mhm.
Might not like them right now, but we always love them, right?
Well, thankfully, I don't think that's really happened yet, and I don't think it will.
Yeah,
That's my own like little protective, happy little bubble that I
yeah,
like to live in. So
yeah. Yeah, and sometimes they do, right? It's like, I don't know how teenage years were in your household, but they can be rough. You know? So let me ask you,
Yeah.
if you had a magic wand and you could give people any quality, what would it be and why?
So I've been thinking about this as well. And my first gut reaction is humility. But sometimes a swift kick in the pants, you know. I just get tired. Like it's tiring. The world is very tiring. And I'm not sure if that's you know, it's a very difficult question. Hey, sweets. Here, just a second, ladies. Jess, I'm on a podcast. Do you want to come and say hi?
Right.
You want to come and say hi? So here we go, everybody. This is Jessie. Say hi.
Hey, Jesse.
Hello, Miss Martina and Miss Christina.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay. Can you leave the dishwasher for a couple minutes? And I'll tell you when it's okay to unload it. All right. Thanks, babe. Yeah, you're perfect. Thank you. You're my favorite. She usually goes, don't tell daddy. You know, so getting back to, I guess it would be humility, to walk in humility and to just not be so angry. Like it's freaking tiring. Yeah.
So what do you mean by humility and being angry? Is that like
Well,
righteousness, or like is
I
it?
don't think it's that. I think it's I guess the superpower would be have everybody take a breath a couple times really deeply and say, is this for the greater good? You know, I think so, but I'm still not happy with that answer. I don't know. Like, I feel like everybody else had like really, really great, really great answers to questions. And here I am going, well, I don't know. But I mean, that's just me, you
Oh, but
know?
I know what you're saying,
That's
Nancy. Like,
ordinary.
like you want your magic wand to first go like, duh,
Yes.
wake up,
Yes.
and then for them to be like, oh, I'm being self-centered. Look at how everyone else is
Yes.
around me. Like that's
Right.
like
Right.
like something like that is what I'm hearing, right? Like you want this magic
Yes.
wand to like wake them up, shake them, and be like, do you see what's going on around you? Life is not all
Yeah.
about you. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah, like, practice gentleness as opposed to, every other crap that's going on. So we won't get into that. That's where Taurus draws her line. So next question, because I don't want to go any further on that one.
Well, no, because it's like if you then think if people are awake, like the ripple effect of that, right?
Mhm.
It's really like then we can take other people into consideration. Then we can, it's actually, yeah, a big deal.
Mhm.
A big
I
deal.
mean, we really feel like most people, at least in the US, but I'd say probably a lot of the world is living in this real center of the universe, right? Like, oh, my world, right? And they're pissed off with what they don't have. And instead of being thankful for what they do have and
Right.
thankful for what's going right, and if you just flipped your script and just focused on that
Mhm.
alone, things would be a lot different. So
Yeah, I think that's a very eloquent way of what I was trying to say.
I got you, girl. I got
I
you.
know. Thank God.
So Nancy, what do you love about your life?
I was going to say the flexibility.
Yeah.
So I've been lucky enough to stay home to raise my children, right? And then I've been lucky enough to have a part-time job and and I've been very taken care of, which, is a blessing in itself, right? Because that's all I really want is just to be cared for. You know, again, going back to Taurus and what do we need? We need, you know,
You want to be
we need to
provided
be
for,
cared
right?
for, right? What was the question again?
What do you love about your life, or most grateful for? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I love the flexibility. I love getting older. If you know, I love being the age where I am right now. Um, I I love the flexibility and I love, you know, where my jewelry business is going. You know, it'll be 2 years, I think next week. And and the growth that's been happening, you know, both personally and professionally, is really something that I never thought that I would get into, like, you know, jewelry and crystals and people would be coming to me for, you know, special pieces and hey, can you create this? And I'd be like, I think I can do that. So as an aside, Martina, I haven't given up on the idea of what you want. So just know I've got a guy. I just have to see if he can do it.
Okay, good.
So yours is going to be a work in progress. Um,
You got a guy. It's always good.
I've got, you
I
know,
know
I've
a
got a
guy.
crystal
Okay, good.
guy, I've got a bead guy, I got a jewelry guy, got a jewelry girl. So yeah, I think it's just it's a lovely place to be in right now. And I'm happy that I do get the um ability for growth and for expansion. He may not always, you know, understand it, you know, but you know, he's there by my side and you know, I'm forever grateful for that because, you know, not everybody gets that. So, you know, as much as I cry and complain and, you know, it's, you know, a partnership that's, you know, over 30 years into it and, you know, it's love.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's great. You know, at the beginning you were saying, I'm lucky to have this. And I was like, no, that's you lucky that you created it with your partner, but that wasn't really luck. That was work that you did to
Yeah.
make this life together. And
Mm,
I'm glad that you ended it with the partnership. Because I was like, that's what you created together with your
I
partner.
know.
Why you
I
guys have
know.
lasted as long as you have, right?
Yeah.
Because you just did the work that you needed. So that's
Mhm,
really cool.
mhm.
But you also mentioned your jewelry business. So what got you into jewelry? What was that?
Okay. So do we have time to like kind of like do a little bit of a deep dive as to, you know, how I kind of created the whole thing? Are we okay on
Go
time?
ahead.
You know,
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I can sit here and chat for a while. So I was working at the spa one day and there was a girl that came in and she was getting a gift card. And so, you know, yes, I'm empathic and the clairsentient. So I sense things, right? So this girl comes in and you know, she comes to me and I'm like, mm-hmm. And so, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm typing in the information and I'm like, you know, my stomach's doing cartwheels, but in a really good way. Or, you know, I like to say that, you know, you're making my stomach turn, but in a good way. And I'm like, please take that as the compliment that it's intended, right? You know, a little bit of Jersey coming out. It's totally fine, right? And so, you know, I was just like, I stopped and I looked at her and she looked at me and I was like, and I cocked my head, you know, and I'm like, what do you do? And she's like, what do you mean? What do I do? And I'm like, what do you do? Right. And she's like, I'm an energy healer. And I'm like, I know. She's like, you know? And I'm like, I know. And then so we exchanged, you know, she gave me her card and everything. And she goes, hey, listen, she goes, I know that we just met, but I'm doing this, you know, she's having like a women's group. And she goes, you know, it's a couple miles away from here. And, you know, and she goes, I would love it if you would come. And I'm like, okay, you know, I'm always up to make a new girlfriend, right? And, you know, my gut says, you know, go for it. It's okay. She's a good one. And so I went and I didn't know anybody there. And I think the other thing that you all need to know about me is that I portray different characters in my life, right? So we have, you know, Nancy the mom, and then we have, Nancy who, loves to run around this magical place called Avalon, which is where we lived when we came down from Jersey. That's where I got into my Pilates obsession. I quickly became the social director of the apartment building. Of course I did, right? And so, and it's this place called Avalon here in Alpharetta, Georgia. And so, so it was Nancy, the social director, Nancy who works front desk at the spot, Pilates Nancy, wife Nancy, friend Nancy. And then so there were all these different Nancys running around. So it's the formal Nancy, I guess, that, portrays like makeup and hair and, clothes and everything like that. And then you have gym rat Nancy, and, then you have work Nancy, and then you have like home hobbit Nancy. It's like, just sweats and pajamas and like no makeup. And my husband's looking at me, he's good. Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, this is perfect. Sorry you get home hobbit Nancy. And, every once in a while, like you'll get, date night Nancy, and, just to make him, whiplash his head a little bit. Okay, I am going somewhere with this. Oh yeah. So it's very like, not two-faced, but not in a bad way, right? So you're choosing this face today, but maybe this face tomorrow. So I know that you girls get that. So getting back to the story, I go to this women's circle, and didn't know anybody. And, that's a big step for me, going somewhere by myself, right? Because I always need a buddy, whether it's my husband or, a girlfriend. I rarely like to do things by myself. And I don't think I've really ever sat in a restaurant by myself and had a meal. Because it's like, ooh, why is she sitting by herself? Doesn't she have anybody? That kind of thing. So like that's the noise that goes on, in my head. Boy, y'all are getting a whole lot of deep diving into Nancy today. Okay, I'll get back to the story, I promise. Squirrel. And so I go there, and we have the circle, and she goes, bring a notebook and everything. And so she does the guided meditation and everything. And I get this message, and I was dealing with perimenopause at the time, right? So 2 years ago. And I heard something very distinctly that said, just a second. We're giving you this gift so that you don't mourn the passing of your fertility. Right? Wow. So she's like, I break down just in tears like I am right now. She goes, do you want to talk about it? And I'm like, no. I say, because I can't. And so I show her, and she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, right? This girl that I literally met 24 hours ago has pulled out something in me that started everything, right? So I'm like, what am I if I can't have children? And what does the other part of my life look like, right? Not that I wanted more children, of course, but I mean, God, I love my kids, and I'm so happy we did it. And we have 3 beautiful children, and, but what's life without reproduction, or the ability to still have children, right? That was a hard one to come to terms with. And that clarity came through, and I'm like, okay, I release, just let go. Because Tauruses, we love to hold on to shit, right? And so that's kind of the birth of my business. And I started doing selenite jewelry stands because it was right around March 14th. And there is this meme that goes around the internet of a pi sign with a Thomas Magnum mustache, right? And I don't know if you've seen it, but you know, it's the funniest thing ever. And it's like, you know, Magnum PI, you know, for March 14th. And, you know, so it's the pi sign with his little mustache and everything. And I was at, or like that weekend, I was going up to Planet Earth Rocks and Crystals, and they were doing their open house, and that's in Athens, about an hour and a half away. Surprisingly, I'll do that on my own and I'm totally fine, right? And so I was walking around, I was like looking at the selenite, and I'm like, huh. And so all of a sudden, this big magic idea came in, right? And I like started putting things together in my mind, and I'm like, well, I could make that. And then so I did. And then I went to an expo, a holistic health expo in New Jersey, and I took a couple of these stands with me. And of course, you know, you can't have them naked. So it was like the little piece of selenite and then two little sticks and then a selenite bar going across, right? Because all of our crystal girlies know that, you know, you cleanse your bracelets and jewelry on selenite. It's the master cleansing crystal, and it's great for, you know, being in your house and just clearing away negative energy and stuff. And so I didn't want them to be naked. So I'm like, oh, let me go to Michael's, right? And so I go to Michael's and I make like, you know, a couple of my very beginner bracelets. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, the stands took off and then the bracelets took off. And then I started finding better, you know, vendors for my bracelets and everything. And then, and I know I'm hopping around, but it's all it's all good, I promise. So fast forward a couple months, and I'm actually at the Alpharetta Farmers Market sharing a booth with another crystal girly who Danielle put us both together. Her name was Josie, so very sweet. And there was this huge storm that came through, right? And just like little tornado cyclone thing, and I'd probably say about 98% of my stock got ruined, right? Just decimated, broken. And they're fragile anyway. So, you know, and so I called my mentor crying, and I'm like, Deb from Enchanted Botanicals, check her out. She's amazing. And I'm like, Deb, I'm like, this is what happened. And she goes, honey, she goes, you weren't getting it any other way. And she goes, you know, this was sent basically to say, stop doing that. You know, it's okay to let that idea go. Because I'm like, you know, again, who am I if I don't have the selenite towers that I started with? You know, well, I'm going to hang on to that idea. I'm going to hang on to that idea, and it's going to become $1 million and all that fun stuff. And she's like, put it away. She goes, thank it and put it away. And so I did. And I said, thank you. And I put it away. And, you know, by that time it was, you know, my jewelry was being, uh, you know, very, very well received. And people were starting to come for me for custom pieces for, you know, I'm going through something, or my daughter's going through something. Can you make something for me? And I'm like, okay. And I don't necessarily understand why I do what I do, or I find it kind of easy, you know, and you know, again, it's all about, for me, it's beauty and symmetry, right? Um, and and then it just kind of blossomed into where it is right now, you know, starting to do malas, and I'm working on learning how to create rosaries. So that's going to be a new part of my line. And, you know, it's never lost on me when people come to me for custom work. And I always consider it such a blessing that they think that much of me, you know, because I don't necessarily think that much, you know, of myself. And I know that's a really bad way of looking at myself. But again, you have to understand, you know, growing up in the 70s and 80s, it was, you know, full steam ahead. And, you know, I'm 3 or 4 children, and like, you know, you take the back seat. And I'm like, okay. You know, so yeah, so then I just recently went through a glow up, I guess, of sorts. I changed my name from Selenite Studio Store to Luxe CrystalWorks, and I really feel that that kind of embodies where I am right now, and you know where my jewelry line is going to be headed. You know, And it sits well, right? You know, I always felt like Selenite Studio Store was just a placeholder until this came. And again, thanks Debit at Enchanted Botanicals. And you know, she is one of my amazing mentors, along with Danielle. And, you know, it really does take a village to have people believe in you until you believe in yourself, right? And I think that's probably the greatest takeaway, you know, other than beautiful jewelry and meaningful jewelry. And, you know, I also create little bags that have cards of the stones that I've used in each bracelet so that you can kind of do your own like little, you know, deep dive into as to why you chose what you chose, or, you know, why you asked me to create what I create. And, you know, it's very well received when people you know, come up to me and they're in my booth and they're like, how do I choose? And I'm like, you just do. I'm like, I can pull some bags and, you know, we can figure it out together. And, you know, usually their first choice is correct, or I'll be like, nope, try again. You know, that's where Jersey comes in and be like, yeah, no, that's not for you. We're gonna try again. So I think that's, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I think that's, I
It's
think that's
so beautiful, right? The whole creative process,
good.
intuitive creative process that
Mhm.
goes into it. And you know, I cannot wait until I get my piece that we've been creating for probably what, a
A
month or
couple
month and
weeks,
a
a
half.
couple weeks. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I gave you an additional challenge that might
Mhm.
provide some growth for you inside
Yeah.
of that
Yes.
for what specifically I want. And for me, it's just really
Mhm.
being guided, right? It's like I like that piece, that's why I want it, right?
Right. Right.
And
And you
then
want it the way you
afterwards,
want it.
figuring it out
Yeah.
why, you know,
Mhm.
is actually quite beautiful. So, do you want to tell people how they can find you? And you also said you had an offer for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Luxe CrystalWorks. So it's LUXE CrystalWorks. And you can reach me via DM. And I think that's what the cool kids say, right? You can reach out to me via DM. I don't have a website. I dabbled with one, but I'm like, that's so much work.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I post everything I create on my Instagram account, and if you like it, just reach out to me. Some of my pieces are going to be one-offs, and you know, they will not be recreated. But most everything else can be recreated if you know, if I don't have it in stock. And then the offer is 10% off of any piece of jewelry or commission. And I think I did that through the next 6 months or year end. I can't remember. So, you know, I guess we can say through year end, through, you know, December of 2025. Or maybe mid-December, because I think we're going to try and, you know, maybe do another whole family vacation. So I think that's kind of what we're going to be starting to do, as opposed to doing a traditional Christmas, is just be like, okay, where do you want to go?
Yeah.
So, you know, and kind of do it that way. So, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Thank you so
Um,
much. And those family vacations, you know, we've done so many trips, and some Christina came with and some Christina didn't come with, but it's just like the coming together and being
mhm.
together, which is so
Yeah,
so
truly.
precious, right?
Mhm.
Being
And I think
together.
it shows the parents in a different light as well. I think, you know, we're a little more relaxed, and, you know, there's not the stress of home, and you know, especially for my husband, there's really not the stress of work. You know, I really saw a different side of him when he was in Australia, because he's like, ain't nobody getting through that time zone change, right? You know, that 14-hour time difference. So it was really a nice treat to just see him, I was gonna say decompose, but I meant to say decompress. Because we don't want the first thing to happen, you know,
No, no,
that's, that would be a bad thing.
yeah,
But just decompression, and just to see, you know, him so happy, and you know, because I know that that was definitely a bucket list item for him, and you know, we were just happy to be along for the ride. So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
I loved Australia. I thought it was really cool.
Mhm.
So So just for your listeners, for you listeners out there, it's all going to be in the notes. Like it's the discount code is going to be in the notes. How to find Nancy is going to be in the notes. And then also, if you want to find out more about us, you can find our Linktree profiles there as well. And just thank you. Thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness.
Nancy.
It was extraordinary. And all of my butterflies, because I was listening to all the podcasts, to all the other women, and I'm like, well, I'm not an author, I don't channel anybody. And I'm like, and I know I sent you that, Martina. And I'm like, I'm just me. And she sent back and she goes, but you're enough. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
So
and we're all ordinary and extraordinary, right? It's like we all are.
yeah.
And we just don't see it in ourselves, right? Like like I do things with regards to my son that people say, wow, Martina, that's so extraordinary. I'm like, I just do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
That's it, right? So it's really ordinary, but other people see it as extraordinary. And then there's some things that I do that I think are extraordinary, but
Yes.
most of the things are just, I do what needs to be done. So thank you so much, Nancy, for being here.
Really my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I can't wait for October.
Very good. Yes, neither can you. And for all of you out there, thank you for being here, for listening. If you love this, please leave us a review, please share, and please always remember that you are extraordinary. You rock. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Bye for now.
Bye,
Nancy, you get to end
everybody.
it.
Thank you.